chaud, différent, ensemble. Our world has changed, new life and hope and promise to sustain. But what always remains is young people leading ways. Quiet
Hello, everybody. Hi, so good to see you all. Thank you so much. My name is Simon Pampana. I'm going to be the moderator here today. So this event is a very special event, one that I hold very dear to my heart. We are talking here today about intergenerational collaboration. We're talking about imagining a future which is joyous and prosperous for all of us, because the power of the youth is something that belongs to everybody. So we have got a lot to get through today. It's going to be amazing. We're going to have a couple of panels, and also we're going to hear from our young scientists giving a report at the end. But I think what we should start with is something really beautiful, a musical performance. For those of you who were here on Monday, you might have seen it. We have Impiwa coming out to play some music for us. So, could you please put your hands together for her?
Thank you. Lovely. All right, good morning, everyone. How are we today? We're doing good? Thumbs up for 100%. Middle for 50? Like anything below 50? Ah, that's great. Okay, I was just checking the vibe. So very much in the theme of intergenerational collaboration and conversations. Today I'll be performing one of my calmer songs. And I hope you enjoy. I performed this song on Monday as well, and it's called Daughter. The song just talks about how finding comfort in being taken care of and knowing that someone has something prepared for you is something that you should appreciate and also learn to cultivate for the next generation as well. So I hope you enjoy. I feel alone and cold, I'm not forsaken. When I'm feeling lost, it's dark, I'm being sought after. And I'm running to the secret place, 'cause I'm your daughter. When the world is caving in, I am protected. When I feel alone and cold, I'm not forsaken. When I'm feeling lost, it's late. I'm running to the secret place. Ooh, yeah. I am your daughter. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Impiwa. Such a beautiful way to start this event today, music being the ultimate form of communication. It's so open, but today we want to be able to do that with our words and being together. So I actually now want to present to you our first panel. Our first panel is on the essence of intergenerational solidarity at FAO's support actions. I'm going to pass over to a young innovator, a fantastic person who you might have seen on stage. I was on stage together on Monday. I'd like to call up to the stage Sofia Cavalieri from Risto Lab to take over here. Please make her feel welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Simon. Thank you so much. May I invite the panelists also on stage? Thank you. So we can start with Ismahan Elouafi, Chief Scientist of FAO. Maybe I sit down here. Then David Laborde, the Director of Agri-Food Economic Division of FAO. And then Chavonda Jacobs-Young, Chief Scientist of USDA. So thank you so much for joining me here on stage and for this discussion that is an open discussion. First of all, I would like to start by saying that our words are very powerful, and the space that we hold here, it's also very powerful for the discourse that we lead. So I would like to just think about the people that are less fortunate than us and the violence that is happening nowadays in other parts of the world that are not necessarily here, but since we are in a UN context, we can think about those less privileged people where violence is happening also on hospitals and in places where it shouldn't be. Saying that and coming back to us, I think it's very important for us young people and young scientists to have access to the scientific discussion, and sometimes that's very hard. I wanted to know your take on it, Isma, if that's possible.
Thank you very much, Sophia, and thank you for starting with the statement that we are human and we need to connect as humans. So we cannot blindside certain things that are happening in other parts of the world. For the youth, I think the youth has the power of changing the world. The youth has the power to make things different, because the youth today are more outspoken than ever. I remember my time as a student, and maybe my rally was at the national level, maybe at the city level. But today we have youth at the global level. So I hope really that the youth can change things, because I can't speak.
It's okay. It's okay. It's a difficult moment. Maybe we can come back to it next, and I can ask David to maybe talk a bit more about how you see youth in the context of intergenerational exchange and the role that youth can play in this exchange. And I can give you the mic.
Thank you. I mean, youth is important, and actually I think they are changing the world. Now the question is how long you stay in young in your mind, and if at one point how many compromise you are going to make in your life regarding your scientific aspiration, your human aspiration. And at FAO we may not have enough young people. I mean that we also have to accept that the society has aged. Some of our demographic structure, even in this organization, you know, the pyramid of age has evolved. So myself, I am not young anymore, you know, I am not even a millennial. So I talk with my colleagues, millennial, Gen Z, now Gen Alpha, and I'm very happy to recruit them because we work together, we share ideas, we share knowledge. I am a researcher, I'm an economist, but I'm a researcher. So every day you want to learn new things, you know, from other people, from other problems. If I go to the office, is to solve problems and to discover things. And that's what I share with all my young colleagues. And what I just want to make sure is that we protect them from the more complicated aspect of life. So not the sad thing that happen in the world, because that's reality, you know, we have to tackle them. We cannot be blind, but to protect them from all the boring things that can happen in an institution like FAO. You know, we want to keep energy, we want to keep motivation, we want to keep passion. And if you keep it, you have no problem to communicate whatever the generation you are, whatever your ethnicity or nationality. And yes, so I think, I don't see a challenge about intergenerational, you know, dialogue. I talk with my old colleagues, I talk with my young colleagues. If you have passion and motivation, there is no problem on that. No, we just want to make sure that we share experience, and that's the most important thing.
Thank you so much. And maybe moving on, since you said about these limitations, I can say that personally for me, it was a limitation being a young female scientist. So maybe the next question that I would like to pose is how can we minimize these not only intergenerational but intersectional limitations of like race, gender, and other aspects that we often not consider when talking about collaboration that is real and heartfelt.
So thank you, first of all, for allowing me to be here and to be a part of the panel. And my first time at FAO, and so I'm very excited to be here today. I will share with you that in the United States, we recognize that our farmers, for example, are average age 58. And in the workforce, I share with the youth this morning that I have about 1,500 of my about 8,000 employees eligible to retire today. And every year we just add more and more and more. And so if we don't spend adequate time training the next generation of scientists and ag professionals, we're in trouble. Quite simply, if we don't continue to prime the pipeline, we're in trouble. So we invest a lot in training the next generation. And for us, that's scholarships, it's mentoring programs, it's pathway programs, special legislations and authorities to bring young people on when they're already in college. And so we can train them all every year, and hopefully they'll become permanent ag professionals. What I've learned from the youth, and this morning I talked to, you know, we use the word youth so broadly now. I keep these young professionals. I talked to a group of young professionals this morning. And what I recognize is that, and I have a 20-year-old and 25-year-old myself, they've grown up in a challenging time. They've grown up at a time where we've had some unprecedented events. And the ability to be able to have the fortitude, the resilience to be able to persist during that time is something that, unfortunately, they've had to adapt to. I've learned a lot from their perspective. That's why intergenerational conversations and communications are so important. And it's ever more important at our dinner table as I listen to my 20 and 25-year-olds take on things, you know. You guys are not fighting to get a seat at our table. Some of you guys are flipping the table over and bringing your own chairs. You're not fitting into the way we've always done things. And so for me, that has really broadened my perspective. And what are the things that I've traditionally been tied into that won't work for the next generation of professionals? And so as a leader, how do I establish an enterprise that is more welcoming, more flexible, and more adaptive to the youth in the way that they think, in the way they approach things? For women in specific, more specific, I think it's important for other women professionals to see women professionals. This is what a scientist looks like. This is what a scientist looks like.
Yes.
And this is what a scientist looks like, that in order for us to create the environment that's going to be welcoming, we have to look like what we want. And so it's been ever more important for us to be able to invest in that next generation of diverse professionals for agriculture.
Absolutely, absolutely. And reconnecting to that, and because I'm part of the Young Scientist Group, before we were talking about the power of words, the power of places. Where we are now, it's a very powerful place to send statements and messages. And also with my team, we were thinking about how to use this power in a concrete way. So I would like to know your perspective about this.
Thank you very much. And I agree with Shavanda that things are changing and youth are creating their own space, their own way of doing things. So I think for me, I hope in the next generation, we will have more scientists than just legal people or maybe finance people, because legal or finance are excellent, but they have a different way of thinking. So we need more engineers, particularly in the STEMs. I remember when I was in Canada, they did a program called Scientists as Leaders. And why they did it, it's that because they find out that most of the managers are either lawyers or finance people. And lawyers and finance people are great people, but they are not maybe the best to manage science and to make sure that we do have evidence-based decision-making. So I think really that the science will attract the youth to delve into it, to learn it, and to use it more. Because we need really to have that science at different levels. So we need more science at primary school, secondary, in the working force at different levels. And I think really for the youth, and I was saying that your voice today, it's global. It's not only very small. It carries on. It carries on more than you think. And because you are here, and because we are here, all of us, we need to make sure we bring with us many, many others. So I remember I was talking to colleagues or donors, and they were telling me, Ismahan, we don't find enough good proposals from North Africa, for example. And I said, how come? When I was at the universities, I wasn't the brightest. There were so many people like me. But those people maybe didn't get a chance to go up, didn't get a chance to get outside the country and speak up. And that's where I feel I represent them. I need to talk on their voice. I need to make sure, and that's what I would like really the young scientists, particularly women, to keep that perspective and never lose your roots. Your roots, it's the most important. The more you copy paste, the more you lose yourself. So whatever you do, you have to remember your upbringing, you have to remember your passions, and you have to go where your heart tells you to go. I don't know if you were in the room when Prince Hassan gave his speech, and it's wonderful what he said. He said, the arid land, it's between the two ears. The arid land is between the heart and the brain. So we need to make sure we connect the two, and we need to keep our values and our roots.
Yes, thank you so much. And on that note, I think that deserves an applause. And Simon.
Thank you so much. Can you please give them a big round of applause for our panelists?
Yes.
You have more to say?
You have more, all of us.
Yes. It's an ongoing discussion. And please, everyone here, if you see these panelists around, they are available to come up and talk. They want to talk. They're your future. Our future is a shared future. Is that correct? We are one future. Yeah. Give them a big round of applause. Thank you so much. And thank you, Sophia, for doing a fantastic job. Okay. So that was a beautiful panel. Thank you for your words. Thank you for your sentiments. Thank you for your humanity. We are humans and we are here living through this time. And what's wonderful about this event is it is future focused and really looking at a future that we can decide, that we can design together, not just the privileged, but for everybody. For we, the privileged, need to speak for those who do not have privilege. So I am really excited. I am now moderating the next panel, which I think is wonderful. I'd like to call up my panelists. This is Strengthening Intergenerational Linkages and Interaction for Accelerated Science and Innovation. So are my panelists ready to come up, please? Could I please have up Silvia Miranda from University of São Paulo? Please come and take a seat. We also have Rabi Mota from Texas A&M University. Round of applause, thank you. And representing our young scientists, we have Ebba Engström. Please come up, round of applause. And we also have Han Teng Lee, WFF Young Scientist Group member as well. Here are our panel. Thank you so much to everybody. Okay, so to get started, we are talking about taking risks. We're talking about how do we actually move forward. And I think it would be really good to start by asking some of our established members of the panel, when you were starting off in your careers, did you take risks when you were going for funding? How did it work for you? Who would like to take that? Would you like to take that, Silvia?
Yes, for sure. Well, first of all, good morning. I would like to thank the opportunity to be here. And yes, actually, I took a great risk. Actually, when I started my career, I abandoned a very good job, actually, because I love it so much to do research, that I decided to go back to my town, because we have the University of São Paulo in my town, and there was this opportunity to do research, and with a very small amount of money as a grant, and I had 2 kids. But anyway, I said, okay, this is my future career. That's what I want to do. And so I would say it's important to follow your dreams. And that was the economic risk I took. And fortunately, everything was all right.
And can I ask, how many years ago was that?
Oh, my God.
We're amongst friends. We're amongst friends.
Probably, I've probably 25 years ago.
25 years.
25 years.
Fantastic.
Ago. Yes.
So maybe let's compare that to one of our young scientists, to a young woman. Are you able to respond to what you've heard from Silvia? Is that something that you resonate with today? Would you be able to take a risk like that you've heard? Yeah.
Okay. I think people resonate with that today quite well. I think people take risks, and I don't know, at my department, so I'm at Imperial College London, one of our professors said, like, if you're not taking a risk, you're not doing science correctly. But I think, I completely agree. And I think today people are encouraged to kind of, develop themselves and follow their passions. Of course, you have to do that with keeping in mind, like, your environment and your context and so forth. But definitely, like, striving for that is still very, very relevant. Yes.
Yeah. And thank you also for Silvia for making it so much easier. So gender is not important. And if you're saying that you had young children as well, oh my goodness, I don't even know how you did that. That's incredible. So look, things are changing, and things have changed a lot over all these years. And the establishment and the generations that have come before have done the work, and hopefully the youth are able to take control, but also to keep moving forward. And with that, we know that the youth are full of energy and full of excitement. However, we've got people here who are experts in education, And one of the things is that as young people, we don't know, I'm going to include myself as a young person, young people, we don't know what we don't know. Rabi, maybe could you speak to how, as an educator, you can best prepare the youth for making the most of opportunities that are around now?
Thank you, Simon, and good morning to everyone. It's really hard to transition from today to tomorrow. We have, many of us have feeling very emotional about what's going on, and acknowledging that, and acknowledging the pain and suffering that's happening today, especially last night with bombing of the hospital. So our hearts goes to those who are paying that heavy price. So transitioning into tomorrow and the future. One thing I'd like to kind of maybe put on the table: you are inheriting a messy world, and not only from what's happening over the last 10 days, 2 weeks, and maybe over the last decades. In terms of geopolitics, and I'm not going to mention that. I acknowledge that, and I think we need to move beyond. You are inheriting a messy world. The world that I lived in was the world of abundance. The world that you live in is a world of scarcity. And you see many of the projections for the water, for the energy, for the food, for the health. Access to these primary resources is becoming more scarce. More scarce in some countries than others, but globally we are living in a significant gap meeting those. And SDGs, not achieving the SDGs on time is a symbol of this scarcity that we're living. And the interconnectedness of these resources is what makes it even more complex. So you're inheriting a very complex world. And from my perspective as an educator, we're not preparing you for this complexity. This system of interactions does require a systems thinking, does require a training that goes beyond the business as usual model. The current model that we have in this room, most of us care about food. The business model, for example, in the food is not sustainable. It needs to be transformed. The complexity, the interconnectedness, the bottom line that we lived in with financial bottom line is not going to make us move to the future. And one thing that we also need to acknowledge, that in the future, you not only need a scientist who's able to talk science, you need a scientist who's able to communicate, to negotiate. We're living in a world that is a lot of competition for water, competition for food, competition for health. So you not only need to know the science behind it, you need to communicate it, and you need to be at the negotiating table, trying to allocate water, and those are very complex issues that I think our education system today failed. And I'll have to admit, we fail to acknowledge this complexity within that system. So we need to reform our education system that is based on holistic system thinking and not narrow disciplinary. Disciplines are good, but we need interdisciplinary training that allow us to go beyond these disciplines.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Yes, round of applause. And so for all the youth here today, you've heard it from Rabi. You need to demand this. So at your universities, you should ask. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Am I causing trouble? No? You should definitely demand for it, because your education is something that is in your power. And I think what Rabi has said is absolutely true. We cannot think in silo systems. We need to think holistically, especially in such a complicated world.
You know, it's interesting. Last week, I was teaching a course on water, energy, food nexus. It's an intensive course for executives that will go into the energy sector. And one very bright student, I looked him up. He's on top of the class. He came in very nervous the first day, second day in class. He says, I'm expecting quantification. I'm expecting to use formulas and equations. This is an engineering class. And you kind of took the rug beyond me, beneath me. So even the young generation are not trained to really be uncomfortable and risk-taking. We train them to do an equation. This is an equation. Go to Excel, go to MATLAB and solve it and come back with a solution. They're not really comfortable with uncertainty. And I think that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, partly, absolutely. Well, we need to all be scientists. Hands up, scientists in the room. Yeah. So the scientific method, what does it teach us? We need to hypothesize, we need to test, and then we need to think again. So mistakes are part of science, absolutely. Would you like to mention some of this, because your experience might be different from the rest of the panel? How do you respond to what Ravi said?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me today. I feel like at this moment, having the opportunity to attend the Warfield Forum as a Young Scientist Group member, it's a great opportunity to join this forum, to listen from you, seasoned scientists. There are lots of opinions that really inspiring. And also, I really hope, because I am doing research that it's a micro scale level, and that's a great opportunity to listen from you guys that we have really micro scale views, the bird views from the sky about the system, how it's happening now. And I see that, especially in university, I just want to bring up one of my perspectives, that we really need great mentorship, like our scientists here, to inspiring us, have the mentorship from different culture, from different background, from different disciplinary. This would be really, really important for us to get a sense to what is happening now. Especially, I'm also teaching courses in the class. I've engaged with students. I found that most of the students, they're curious about the things happening. So as long as we have good mentorship, have good mentors, have more mentorship program to guide them, like we hope there are more young scientist group here to around the world to provide the opportunity to inspire more young people to be part of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Where is your university?
Currently, I'm working in China.
In China?
In Chinese Academy of Sciences, Chengdu Institute of Biology. So we are working on crop breeding, try to make the crops more nutritious.
And coming from China, did you resonate with what Ravi said?
Sure.
Same problems in China?
Sure.
So I'm going to put you guys on the spot right now. And this is going to be fine because this is your lives I'm asking you about. You just spoke about that we need better mentors. These people are here right now. Could you tell them what you want from them as a mentor? They're listening.
Yeah, great. I think, well, I'm coming now from an academic research perspective. And I think as a young researcher, I think what's hard when you're starting out is understanding actually how to navigate certain parts of research which are not written in your handbook. It's the parts which come with being a researcher. For example, applying for funding and getting access to that, how to go about and navigate that system. And I think that's where intergenerational support is extremely crucial. And I mean, we spoke about this part about we're at the table and we have a seat at the table, but you do need to be invited sometimes to it still. And I think that's absolutely crucial going forward and understanding what it is to be a researcher. Yeah.
So I'm hearing about practicalities. So the practical nature, the business of doing science. So that's incredibly important. Do you feel comfortable when you're working with mentors? Do you feel that they make allowances for you?
I mean, yes, I think, of course, every relationship is different. And I think that's something you learn as you go along as well and you build up your career.
Yep.
It's, who to work with and what a good relationship with supervisors and mentors looks like. And of course, that's always hard to know when you start out, but that's part of the experience as well.
Amazing. Can I maybe see as a show of hands from the audience, who has mentors, older mentors in their lives? And are you doing a good job? Hands up if you're doing a good job managing that relationship. Yes? So it's not just coming from the older generations, from the establishment, it also goes in the other direction. I would like to ask a question now that I'm hoping will open up some ideas. Seeing some of the challenges, I would like to actually hear from a member of our establishment and also from our young people. If we're talking about revolutionary ideas and inherent in that are risks, what does success look like? How can we actually judge if something is successful if it doesn't actually have all the bells and whistles and all of a sudden gets a Nobel Prize.
Can I first make a comment about the last intervention? Actually, about what a mentor should be. I would like to share a very interesting experience we have in the laboratory where I do research. We are more than 140 people. I would say 10 people, faculty members, and then the others are students, undergraduate and graduate students, and some researchers. And what we try to do with them, even if they are students from the first year in the college and the university, we hire them as interns, and they participate of everything. Since the collecting data in the fields, they go with the other researchers to the field and collect information. They are responsible also to organize reports. And then later, when we have a meeting, for example, with stakeholders to discuss financing and whatever, or the reports, they would be part also. So I think this is the kind of model that has permitted us, allowed us to have young scientists and young managers ready to the market. And so I just would like to add that. Well
done. I'm hearing trust, which is absolutely fundamental. You need to trust people. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, exactly. And of course, you can evaluate their performance, and you can tell them what is going okay or not.
Okay. Communication again, absolutely.
Communication again, yes. Sorry, again, the question.
The question.
Sorry.
Well, in actual fact, because we actually need to run to time, I think maybe we'll get something interesting. Do people have questions for our panel? Yes, over here. So please feel confident, as you can hear, that this is all about intergenerational communication. Feel confident, feel empowered to actually ask a question. Could you just say your name and then direct your question?
Thank you. I'm Nicole DePaula. I work here at the UN Food Systems Coordination Hub. Appreciate it, panel. Thank you so much for these insights. And my question is for you, Rabbi Mota. When you mentioned this training, the systems thinking part, I think we are aware of this need, and that we need to empower, but it's very hard, even at the level of civil servants. How do we empower young civil servants to deal with this complexity of food systems? So do you have any more concrete examples? You mentioned about a course, but what kind of a content or a kind of solutions we could have of training, capacity building on the systems thinking? Because of course it's very hard to put everything together at the same time. So any advice on this, on experience? Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very important. And indeed, it's very challenging at multiple levels. We are bound by what I call the job description. You go to someone said, I cannot do it because it's outside my mandate.
Yeah.
And this needs to change. Our mindset that you need to look at solutions that may touch you, your discipline, somebody else's discipline. So we need to learn to relearn how we can look for solutions that are outside our mandate. And that's very difficult. We start at the classroom, but then you go into, for example, in the general, the governments. Solutions for the future, for water, for food, for energy, for health, is not going to be within that discipline. That solution lies at the boundary of all of these disciplines. So how do we learn to go beyond our, what I call, quote unquote, the job description, and look for these solutions to govern, teach our students, our next generation, future leaders, how they can govern a complex system outside their mandate and feel comfortable talking to a water professional, comfortable talking to the health professional, to the food professional, to the other outside discipline. That's the challenge we will face in the future, because there will not be solutions from within the discipline. Solutions for the future lie in a system that goes way beyond. So how do we lower the boundary, lower that wall that separates us from my job, your job, and his or her job? That's the challenge, I believe.
Absolutely. Would maybe one of our young son, would you like to answer some of that? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, it's true that really the things happening now, there are a lot of challenging, and especially I'm thinking even the students or even teachers, like from very beginning, the system should be ready to get the student ready, and also we have like the funding system for young scientists also should consider the situation, consider that providing more programs for these great opportunities that they can explore in their career life.
Yeah, so system thinking I see is very important, and everyone understands the importance of system thinking. But system thinking is quite revolutionary. And as Rabi has just explained, in actual fact, it goes against these silos, these little kingdoms of discipline, which I find really interesting, and I'm really heartened that you're talking about that we need to rough up the edges, to break down the walls, and to make it interdisciplinary. Do we have another question? Yes, over here. Yes, sorry, we'll see if we can get to you in a second. You were just pipped at the post there.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. I will have two questions. I'm Noor, sorry. I would like to
We'll see how we go, yes.
I'm Noor from the American University of Rome. I have two questions. The first one, as a professional people and you have long experience with UN and the humanitarian field, what kind of advice you would provide for the young professional people who are recently graduated? This is the first question. And the second one, what does distinguish young professional people from the others at the humanitarian field? Thank you so much.
Okay, would you like to answer that one, Sylvia?
Okay, well, I would say something that has always helped me, at least, and I would say I would recommend it's to be open-minded. I think something that we didn't have in our generation, we had classes in very strict mathematics, physics, biology, and nowadays young researchers are facing a world that is much more interdisciplinary. And so even though if you are an engineer, you have to try to feel like the humanities people think. I mean, it's very important, because if not, we will not have communication. So I think you younger people and your younger scientists are more friendly to becoming interdisciplinary, working in interdisciplinary areas than my generation. For us, it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge for all of you, also, of course. But I think it's important to be sensitive to this approach.
Absolutely. And I think also, can I just add to that? What we're hearing as well is that we're hearing people in established positions talking about the fact that we can challenge and we should challenge, but that doesn't mean that anyone's made a mistake. We still need to respect. And I think especially intergenerationally, just because we're growing and because there is uncertainty doesn't mean that we don't know what we're doing. Just to be as scientists, we have to accept the fact that when we don't know, we're on our way to knowing. So respect, I think, is very important as well.
Just a couple comments very briefly that I'd like to just to add. One, keep a balance between your passion and being pragmatic. There are many opportunities that you're not too excited about, but it gives you resources to allow you to do things that you want to do. The other thing is, break down your big dream into pieces so that you can achieve them as a milestone. And you may get funding. You may not get funding for your big idea all at once. You'll get funding, little pieces of funding along the way that will get you to that big dream. And sometimes the big funding may not be what you need. You may need little small funding that gets you one grad student and do a small discovery one at a time. That has it takes way less time of you coordinating large, big teams. So those are things that you may want to think of.
Is that a good answer? Thank you so much.
Yeah,
we actually need. Is it quick? Yeah, go for it.
Just a quick comment. I feel like I think the smallest funding could be the garbage, yet that you can do your things you like. Sometimes small ideas come from garage, and that's the first funding we have.
So the small is the garage. So working in your garage, working in a safe space, yes. And you don't have all that attention. That's a great point. So fantastic. So we naturally need to stop this panel now. I know that we have so much more to say, but please know that this conversation is not confined to this stage. So you need to take this now into your lives, and I'm speaking to especially to the young people in the room. Please take on board and feel emboldened to take on board. And when you go back to your universities and your tertiary establishments, work and don't complain about it. Just say, yes, I know what to do and I need this and I'm a system thinker. And if I bring this to my university, then everyone succeeds. So please, round of applause for all of our speakers. Thank you so much. May I ask you to go back to your chairs? And I really wish we had 2 hours, but unfortunately we've only got an hour and we've got other things we need to do. So thank you so much for coming along. Thank you for our young and thank you for our established. And I think we can all agree that was really excellent. I got a lot out of it. It's worth noting that the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, especially through its support of the organization of events like this, like the World Food Forum, has played a pivotal role in advocating for intergenerational connections. So the WFF is an instrumental. So this is here for young people and it's here for established people and it's about building that connection. So what I want to do next is I want to bring to the stage, if we can have, give me one moment please, my dear crowd. As I discover my notes. I think Ismahan, you're up next. Yes, please come up to the stage. Welcome Ismahan again. Here we go. And David Laborde. David Laborde as well. Please come up again. Please take a seat. And also young scientist group members. So we can have Ram Nepal and Margaret Hedgewood. Sorry about that. Thank you so much, guys. Come up and take a seat. Give them a big round of applause. Thank you so much. Okay, so this panel here is about, we're talking about the report. We're talking about reports from last year and also for the upcoming reports. Can we move forward, please? Ismahan and David, let's move forward on the teleprompter. Thank you so much. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is, so this is all about communication. Are you willing to communicate? Yes. Yeah, fantastic. So shall we start with Ram? Would you like to give us a presentation, please?
Sure. Thank you, Simon.
That's okay.
Pleasure to meet you all. I think first I want to give a brief introduction of the first cohort of young scientist group. We were a superbly diverse team of 20 young scientists coming from global south and global north. And our report that culminated with a report talks about the barrier in the current agri-food system. And then we identified 4 youth enabler. Those are education, science, technology, and policy. And then we gathered some silver linings from the ground level. We have in our report, we have 5 case studies, amazing youth in the ground level from China to Brazil to Uganda to Australia. They are doing a real change in the field. For example, there are a group of young farmers in the Uganda who are pulling the resources and intervening the policy making process. Similarly, there are young scientists in the China in Institute of Urban Agriculture in Chengdu, where they have resources for high-tech research. Yeah, and after that, we have done in the report science-based evidences, science-based recommendations. There are 18 recommendations Just to name a few, first, we recognize that we are in a very complex world. And first, we have to train our young farmers or young scientists to tackle the current diversely challenging problems like climate change or war. And, as already mentioned in earlier panel, system thinking approach.
That's fantastic. And I think also the fact that your international collaboration, climate change is everywhere. So having an approach and having people working in different nations, everyone can learn from one another. That's absolutely fantastic. Margaret, maybe can we hear about what is upcoming?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I want to give a quick shout out to YSG. Also, again, incredibly diverse group, and they've worked really hard to present to you what Ram has mentioned and also what I'm about to talk about with our upcoming report topic. I think we wanted to build on what the first cohort did, and they talked a lot about challenges, opportunities. Youth play an important role in creating solutions to for agri-food systems transformations. And this is not only the large global solutions that we see the call for, shifting diets, improving crop efficiency, and all the things we read about now in the scientific literature. It's also the solutions to the problems brought about by those global calls in the form of trade-offs and synergies. For example, a lot of the pushback that we see in some of these climate solutions is because, there are winners and losers when we make large decisions. How can we alleviate as youth, the trade-offs that might come with meeting certain climate goals? And I think youth have a very unique perspective, not only as innovators and scientists and forward-thinking people, but also as the direct beneficiaries of a lot of these decisions that we're going to be making today, hopefully, and within the coming decades about food systems. And so that's really the focus of this report, hopefully moving forward. And I encourage you to use the QR code and look at it in our concept note at present. And, we're still ideating on this, but I'm really positively looking forward to working with YSG on this.
Thank you. And as a presenter and a performer, I hate to do this, but please take out your phones and feel free to actually use the QR code and download. In our closing, the remaining time that we have, not just from what you've heard here, but just for our whole event, are you, Ismahan, are you hopeful for the future, for this future that our young scientists are working towards?
No, definitely. Absolutely, Simon. I'm very hopeful. I think, really, as I said earlier, the engagement at the global level was lacking, and I see it now. And now, if we think in terms of the voice of the agri-food system, it's coming up to the COP28, for example, and it was in COP27 and COP26 as well, but it's really raising up. So now we were going to have the leaders to discuss it, to say how we can transform it. So I think really both the agriculture as a sector has much more attention globally, and it's because of youth and because of the global movement. There is also in terms of innovation, we are at the best to innovate. So not only we have the best circumstances to do it, we have also the best tools to do it. And that's where really there is hope. But the hope this time has to be really equal. As a person, all my life, I find inequalities unacceptable. Absolutely. If we are civilians, if we are civilized people, we need to be equals. Mm-hmm. So, and nature push us to that. Mm-hmm. So going back to nature, thinking how to mimic nature, understanding better nature will get us to be in a better world. And I think today we have the tools better than even just 20 years ago. We have the tools to do it. And that's where the power in the youth should be used toward that transformation of agri-food system, towards better inclusiveness, having really everybody equal, having everybody to really benefit from it. And you're right, absolutely. The trade-off, it's an issue. It's an issue, and we need sometimes, what we need is what Shavonda said, maybe flip the table. Maybe we need to discuss a new economy system that works better for our planet. So, and that's where me at my age, maybe I won't be able to do it, but maybe you can do it because you are thinking in a different way. And that's where that we need really a huge paradigm shift if when I make it, but I'm very hopeful with what I'm seeing. I'm really very hopeful.
That's what we need to hear. Thank you so much. Just a moment, David, before you say that, I just wanted to say, I think something to embrace as well is that we were talking about crises happening right now. But the nature of crises is they're also opportunities. So everything that you've said, I can actually see in a positive way that when people are happy and stuck, they're less likely to want to change. So we can make the changes and we can embrace these crises and make the world that we want. And we have people, wonderful people, like our established people here who are in service of that need. David, please.
Yes, 4 things quickly. The first one is young generation are going to make mistakes like the previous one. But also you have to learn from past generation and not just, the previous one. I mean, when I hear system thinking is new, no.
Of course.
Go back to our thinker, Leonardo da Vinci, Pasteur, Marie Curie, read what they have done in their life. They were connecting dots. Maybe in the last 30 years, we have become hyper specialized, and that has been an issue. And that has led to some problem we face today. But we are part of several thousand years of humanity. Learn from that. The past matters. Now, the reality is that the last generations has given you a world that is not in a good shape. So we have to scale up the game, scale up the efforts. Your kids will live in 2100. So when we talk about climate change, 30 years ago, it was 2050, it's far, 2100. No one will be here to see what's happened. Not my problem. This is our problem. That's going to be your kids' problem. So as young people, you have to think about the next young generation. And so that's where you get motivated, change things, push to change things. The third point I want to make is the young generation of the world will be in Africa. I mean, just look at the demographic structure. So here, global solidarity is key. We need to train dozens and dozens of thousands of scientists, PhD in Africa. That's the challenge of the next 20 years. And that we have to do it together. So that I would say for me, the 3 things. Yes, before you had other people, you have done good things, bad things, but you have to solve them for your kids. And then, yes, we are in a small planet, but
yes,
we are there together.
Very small, yes. So David is putting out the hand of friendship. And I really encourage you to, yes, take that hand, because we have the established, even me, who is between young and old, we are definitely here all together and working together. And I think from this fantastic panel and from this fantastic event, you can hear that we are full of hope. So we've run out of time, but as I've said before the panel, this is not confined to these walls. Please take what you've heard today and be active and talk to older generations, because they will listen. Thank you so much to everyone. Round of applause to our panelists, and thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the week. Big round of applause. Oh, Kazuki is coming on stage. Would you like them to come back and sit?
Yeah, this is just very, very briefly, and thank you all the panelists, but I also would like to thank the team that is actually putting all of this together, because this is the last of the sessions this week that are organized by the Youth Action Policy team. And I would like to also introduce Pramisha, who has been really amazing in putting all of that together. So thank you so much, Pramisha. Really amazing job done. Of course, this is not the last youth policy session. There is still the assembly going on and a lot of other things. And the next couple of days is going to be very, very heavy negotiations as well about the text that is going to be put together. But here on main stage, this was the last one. So Pramisha, amazing job. This is your moment. And yeah, thank you all for having been here. And have a good lunch, I suppose, at this point. And
everyone deserves it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.